morning, everyone, and welcome back to Wake and Take. It's your boy Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. As you know, last week was the fantasy season finale, and really we're just going to call it the Wake and Take season finale. We're going to do a little mini season here for the playoffs, and I guess just kind of this part of the season. Full disclosure, I'll explain this a little bit later, but we are going to be transitioning to Monday, Wednesday, Friday for the next few weeks. So, you know, just 3 episodes a week, kind of keeping things strong and moving here at Wake and Take. But big day as the season is truly over. The season is truly over. The NFL draft order set. The playoffs are here, and I'm ready to talk about it. So go ahead and take out your coffee, the Wake and Take coffee mug, if you will. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. It is wonderful to see you all here this morning. Louie, Alex, Jeff, Jamie, the Hairy Snowman, and many more, I'm sure, popping in. Thank you for tuning in as always. Good morning to you. Guys, you can find the Wake and Take podcast via the link in the description if you just feel like listening. And yeah, we're here. We're back. As Louie says, he thought I was done. I'm never done. I'll never quit. The grind never stops. And I love talking about football. So that's what we're here for today. It is playoff time. It is truly playoff time. And what I'm thinking, as mentioned, is we're going to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I'm thinking this week, today, we're going to talk the playoffs. Wednesday, we'll probably do a little bit of NFL draft preview stuff. And then Friday, I think I'm going to make that my kind of week in review, take all the news. So we'll talk about the Doug Peterson firing then. We'll talk about the Gerard Mayo firing then. We'll talk about Jamar Chase having an awesome Triple Crown season then. And whatever else develops over the week, we'll have a nice little just kind of a review, get the takes out. But we're going to keep things to one topic each. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Still 10 a.m., but just hard to make content this time of year. And what am I supposed to do? So we're just going to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. And we're going to see how it goes. Maybe that'll just kind of be the new flow here for Wake and Take, because 5 days a week was, as you guys know, a lot. A lot. But it was awesome. It was awesome. So anyway, as mentioned, the playoffs are totally here, and I want to talk about it. I do want to talk about it. So we're going to start with just kind of, I guess we're going to do like the Super Bowl odds. We'll talk about first, and then we'll talk about Wild Card Weekend, and then I've got a bracket that I've put together. And then later on in the show, we are going to be doing the FFPC Playoff Challenge because FFPC has actually sponsored this episode. Shout out to the FFPC, fantastic organization over there with high stakes fantasy football. They are helping me with one entry into the $35 playoff challenge, which is just incredible. So I highly recommend doing that. We'll talk about that some more when we get to it. So definitely stick around for that. It is an incredible, incredible contest. And it's kind of tough too, as you'll see. I'm excited to put my team together after we talk about the playoffs. So first things first, when it comes to the playoffs, you're probably wondering who's going to win this thing? Who's going to win this thing? And I'll give you my picks later, but Vegas does have the Detroit Lions as the favorite. They have them at plus 280 right now over at, that's BetMGM, I believe, and DraftKings has the same odds. And I understand it, right? The Lions taking down that number 1 seed in the NFC look unstoppable right now. They just absolutely demolished the Vikings last night in incredible fashion. And it's hard to believe that anything else is going to happen this season. Next, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs. As always, they're going to be high up on this list. They are at plus 350 odds to win the Super Bowl. And again, you understand it, right? When it comes to the Chiefs, they just don't lose. They just don't lose. I know it's not exciting, but as we've seen from the last few weeks, minus this week, of course, since no one was playing and they just got absolutely ran through by the Broncos, they have really come to life. We saw Xavier Worthy become an alpha. We saw Marquise Brown get utilized in the offense. We even saw Travis Kelce look okay. And I do think that that's just the Chiefs' formula. Turn it on when it matters most. So I do think they're obviously going to be a very tough team to beat. I will say, and this is a little bit of a spoiler, I do not believe that the Chiefs will make it to the Super Bowl even. I've never felt that this year. I've just never felt that all year, and I'm going to stick to my guns there. I know that they just keep winning, but they can't keep getting away with it. And this year, I just think that the Bills, the Ravens, really whoever they end up with, the AFC does have some tough opponents at the top that I think they could actually end up losing those games if all things go right. And even if they make the Super Bowl, I think that they would lose to the Lions and or Eagles or, whoever else ends up in there, right? I don't think the Chiefs get the three-peat, as logical as it is. Next, actually, I am surprised the Ravens ahead of the Bills. I won't lie. That does surprise me a little bit, but it does make more sense. The Ravens on paper are a bit more of a complete team than the Buffalo Bills, right? Like the Ravens are good on defense and offense, whereas the Bills are kind of just Josh Allen's toys, which is awesome too. They're at plus 600 for the Ravens, and the Bills are at plus 600 as well. But right behind them is they're at plus 650 on DraftKings, whereas Ravens is kind of plus 600 right across the board. But either way, the Ravens, I do think, also are going to go on a little bit of a tear this playoffs postseason. The only thing, of course, as we'll talk about when we get to my bracket, is just their seeding. I think if they were at home, they would have a lot easier of a time, but more than likely they're going to have to travel to Buffalo, and I'm not sure how that sits in my stomach personally. But we'll see, right? I mean, they have Derrick Henry, they have Lamar Jackson. The Zay Flowers injury, very, very concerning, but hopefully we'll see. We'll learn some more. It seems to be that he's avoided the worst case scenario at least, but even then we saw Mark Andrews step up. Isaiah Likely's still there. So this team can definitely get working for sure. So as mentioned, Buffalo is next. And again, that's just going to be because of Josh Allen. Josh Allen can just do it all, and he's just going to put this team on the back, especially since they're going to have a couple games in Buffalo. If the weather especially goes their way, then they're going to make it to the AFC Championship. That's pretty much my take. We'll see about the Super Bowl. But the Bills looking like they are highly favored. And then next it's the Eagles. And I got to say, I think the Eagles should be a lot higher. We'll talk about that later. But the Eagles are at plus 700, and they're kind of the best team in the NFL. I hate to say it. I know we've got some Eagles fans in the chat that probably love me saying that, but they are the most complete team in the NFL. And really, I don't know if it's that close. Maybe the Chiefs obviously would be the next one, but it's like Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley. And then, I mean, have you seen that defense, especially the defensive front? I mean, it's just a monstrous, monstrous team. And I don't know who's beating them. I got to say. So I'm not going to lie. The plus 700 odds for the Philadelphia Eagles is definitely kind of raising my alarms, if you will. I would definitely, if I lived in a legal betting state, maybe throw 10 smackaroos on that thing. Alex has a good point. The refs will beat them. Jamie says the refs won't let the Chiefs lose. We'll see. I really don't see the Chiefs. I really don't, but I get it. So after the Eagles, it kind of becomes a lot of long shots, and it makes sense. Vikings are next at plus 1,600, but let's be honest, last night proved, like I've been saying all season, that they are a fraud. Sam Darnold, while he's looked incredible in this system, still doesn't have it and will still be Sam Darnold every once in a while, especially when it matters most. And with the season truly on the line, they totally collapsed. And it's not going to get any easier. So Vikings at plus 1,600, I think is total lost money. Packers at plus 1,800. We'll kind of have to see what this Jordan Love injury is and the severity of it. But I don't think the Packers especially, they've just kind of collapsed towards the second half of the season. And really all year, it just hasn't really clicked. So I don't see them making too much noise either. Now it gets kind of interesting because to me, really the rest of the teams have, not the rest, but a good bit of these next few teams all really do have something going for them to where you could be like, you know what? I'll throw a couple bucks on this and just see what happens. The Buccaneers, for example, plus 3,000. Those are really great odds for a team that, as we saw last year, almost made the Super Bowl. They barely lost to the Lions and really did look incredible throughout the postseason. This year as well, even without Chris Godwin, they've looked immaculate. And I know they struggled against the Saints yesterday, but they still won. And that's just kind of week 18 madness, Like, I know that they played a lot of their starters and they had to win the game, but that's just, like divisional games, they just are close, especially when the other team, the Saints, is fired up to play potential spoiler. Like, they're just going to show up for that game. So I know a lot of people are dogging the Buccaneers right now for having a close one with the Saints, but I'm not. I think it's understandable. And they also have a very good defensive front. They also have Mike Evans, Baker Mayfield, Bucky Irving, and now Jalen McMillan as well, playing unbelievable football. So I really do think they're going to make some noise like they did last year, get in some really close contests. And in terms of wild card teams, or just like the lower seeded teams, they're a very fun one and a very interesting one. Not sure how far they'll make it, especially since they drew the unfortunate Commanders card. But still, I do like the potential of this Buccaneers team, at least to make some noise. Next at plus 3,500 is going to be the Chargers. And the Chargers, this is another one where they've been playing very, very complete, good football. At plus 3,500, that's interesting odds, to say the least. Justin Herbert, J.K. Dobbins coming to life. Lad McConkey showing his stuff. Even QJ showing up. We had a DJ Chark touchdown yesterday. And, of course, Derwin James still there. So the pieces are there in Los Angeles. It's just they're also going to have a tough road. And it's just, are they really going to do this in year one? I would say no. But, what I love about the playoffs is you just got to get hot, man. You just got to get hot. Although I will say I'm not sure if the Chargers are really a team that can just get hot. I think that they just remain competitive. And the Chargers, they're the Falcons of the West. They always choke. And so I don't really have high hopes for the Chargers, but you could definitely make a case. Next is the Rams at plus 3,500. And I just want to say you can't count out the Rams. You just cannot count out the Rams. Matthew Stafford has just been here before. As we know, they won the Super Bowl a few years back. And these types of games is where he shows up in particular. But they rested their starters last week. Cooper Kupp, I think, will come back to life, at least for the playoffs. Puka Nacua should still be playing unbelievable. So I do think whoever draws the Rams, the Vikings, will have a very, 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 very tough wild card matchup, as we'll talk about later. The Commanders at plus 3,500. If they had a better defense, right, they could win the Super Bowl. But it's just going to come down to Jaden Daniels. And as a rookie, I'm just not sure he totally has it in him. He does have that winner's DNA. He truly does. But the team's just not complete enough. I think they might be able to win one, maybe two. But I definitely don't see them as a Super Bowl team. Plus 8,000 Denver Broncos, kind of same thing, right? Rookie quarterback, but massively different odds. Plus 3,500 to plus 8,000 from the Commanders to the Broncos. Then it definitely is interesting. But unfortunately for the Broncos, they play the Bills. And I know they beat the Bills earlier this year, but it's just way too tough of a road for them. But really do want to shout out Bo Nix and really this Broncos team for turning it around in just one season. They really do look good. And I'm excited for their future. Just not much of a Super Bowl team. Texans, though. Call me crazy. Plus 8,000 odds for the Texans. I know that they have been very quiet this year, but they kind of remind me like the Chiefs, where they're just in these close contests and can close out these games without making much noise. And I would be terrified to go up against the Texans. CJ Stroud does also kind of have that winner's DNA. I don't think that they're going to be able to do anything. But if you were to tell me to pick a team in the one of the lower seeded teams, it's always tough talking about wild card teams now that only one team gets a bye. But if you are to tell me, hey, pick one of these lower seeded teams to really make some noise this year, the Texans might be one of them. If I'm going to be honest with you, they just kind of have that in them. And then lastly, it's the Steelers. They are the least favorited team to win the Super Bowl, and it's understandable why. They have kind of collapsed to end the season, and they just don't have it in them. However, I would still be terrified to go up against them. So, hey, the Steelers looking like a fun or a team you don't really want to play against. But in terms of winning the Super Bowl, I just don't think they can really get there. So that's kind of all the Super Bowl odds and just kind of a brief discussion on all the teams and how they've gotten here. It's been an incredible season for all these teams. So why don't we go ahead and look at my bracket? I put this together this morning, and I'm still not sure how I feel about it. So let's go game by game. We'll start with the Broncos-Bills. The Broncos-Bills right now, Bills are favored by 7.5. And as we know, the Broncos actually did beat the Bills earlier this year, 24-22. That came as they got a field goal as time expired to win the game. And they really did stifle Josh Allen. That's not going to happen this time. I really don't believe it. Now, of course, the Denver defense is awesome, and really the Buffalo Bills defense isn't. So I could see this, being close. But ultimately, this is kind of Josh Allen's year to me. and really the Bills' year to make it as far as they can. And I think the Broncos are an easy enough matchup for them. Rookie quarterback in the playoffs, they just don't generally do that well. They can, right? But I think Bo Nix will play well. I just don't think that the Broncos will be able to do enough to win this game. I will say Buffalo being favored by 7.5 does feel like an excellent opportunity. I think the Broncos could cover that. I just think ultimately the Bills have to win this game. They just have to, and I really didn't even think that much about it. It's just what are you supposed to do? That next one, of course, is the Steelers-Ravens in the AFC. And again, the Ravens are favored by 8.5. Now, it is important to note that the Steelers and Ravens went 1-1 this season. The Steelers won 1, the Ravens won 1. The Ravens won the most recent, and they've just been playing so well recently. I don't see them losing to the Steelers, especially with the Steelers losing some steam. Now, of course, with it being a divisional game, I also think this is an excellent opportunity to say that the Steelers could cover that 8.5-point spread. Just because, that defense will still kind of keep it close. And the Ravens, they did just probably lose Zay Flowers at least for 1 week. But still, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, that's enough. They're going to win this game. But I do think the Steelers could cover, right? 8.5 is a lot of points, especially in the playoffs. Next is Chargers-Texans. And I have gone back and forth on this and still really going back and forth on this. This is the hardest game to predict because I think they're very much similar teams, right? This is our first time actually seeing Justin Herbert versus CJ Stroud. And right now, the Chargers are favored by 3. And I think I'm just going to lean into that. I don't feel great about it. I really don't. But with them being at home and with them just being a really complete team over the course of the season, I think they'll get it done. I do think it'll be very close and low scoring for that matter. I think it'll be like 21-20 almost, just like a truly not exciting game, except for maybe, of course, that like game-winning field goal or something like that. But I don't know. I look at this matchup and I feel very uncomfortable picking a winner. I think it's going to be incredibly close. I know that the Texans are hurting, but I still believe in CJ Stroud, as disappointment as the season has been, to show up on the big stages. And as we've seen from the Chargers, they choke a lot. I just don't think they'll choke here. I do think they can win this first playoff game. And as we see, they'll take on the Chiefs after that. And that's kind of where things might go downhill. So we're just going to stick on the AFC side for now, and then we'll jump to the NFC. So I have, as mentioned, the Chargers beating the Texans. I don't feel great about it. I think it's going to be incredibly close. I do still believe in CJ Stroud to at least keep it a competitive game. But ultimately, I'm just going to give it to the Chargers for the home field advantage. Oh, I guess Houston's at home. Sorry. Doesn't even matter. Chargers are winning this game. I really do think they will. But then against the Chiefs, it's just not happening. Not yet. I don't think the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. I just don't feel it in them this year. But I do think they could still beat the Chargers, especially at home in that matchup. The Chiefs having the bye, being all rested up, they would definitely pretty much dismantle the Chargers, I think. Just to remind them, like, this is where the big boys show up. And the Chargers just aren't quite the big boys yet. They are trending in that direction. I do believe in this Chargers team's future. But losing to the Chiefs is a poetic end to the season for them. And a poetic end to the season, or I guess start to the postseason for the Chiefs as well, to take that divisional win heading into the AFC Championship. Next would be Bills-Ravens. And I think if it was in Baltimore, Baltimore would win, but it's going to be in Buffalo because of the seeding, and Buffalo is going to win the game. I really do believe that this is Josh Allen's season. He has been unbelievable this year. And as we've just seen from Lamar Jackson and the Ravens in the playoffs, I don't know every time, though, they just collapse. They cannot put it together in the playoffs. And I think that the Bills in Buffalo is an incredibly tough draw for them. If they were to stay at home, they might be able to get it. But weather potentially coming into play here, as well as just Buffalo like ready. They do truly feel like it's their year. And Josh Allen has started playing unbelievably this season, really truly putting the team on his back, along with James Cook as well. And the wide receiver core starting to make some noise here and there as well. The Bills, this is their season. So I have them beating the Ravens at home. I'm sure it'll be like quite an electric shootout, like maybe even both teams in the 40s. But ultimately, Josh Allen wins it. Which takes us to the AFC Championship, where the Buffalo Bills will be taking on the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City. And I mean, I really, in all my heart and soul, want to pick the Bills, and I'm just going to pick the Bills because of that. I don't have any logic besides I just don't think it's the Chiefs' year. Now, maybe that means the Chiefs lose in the Super Bowl. I don't know, but I just do not think they three-peat. That is just so unbelievably tough. And again, Josh Allen and Buffalo, they are playing very good football, fired up. They're probably even more fired up that they lost on Sunday and let the Patriots get a worse draft pick. Like, they are really, truly feeling good right now. They are on top of the moon. And Josh Allen will continue to play lights out against the Kansas City Chiefs and get that monkey off their back and finally get to the Super Bowl, where they will take on a team from the NFC. So let's take a look at the wild card round for the NFC as well. We'll start at the top with the Packers taking on the Eagles. Of course, in Philadelphia, the Eagles are favored by 4.5. I wouldn't be surprised if this spread starts to move if we hear some bad news about Jordan Love. For now, it's still kind of in the air. But Christian Watson also got banged up. And if you're telling me they're more than likely just going to have to rely on Josh Jacobs for this game, they're just not going to win. They are just not going to win. The Eagles were able to rest all their starters last week. They are going to be fired up. Jalen Hurts is back, and they're going to destroy the Packers. I know that this year they did match up, and it was very close. In fact, they might have lost if Jordan Love didn't get injured on that freak play. However, at home, first game of the playoffs, the Eagles are the type of team, and this could really hurt them. But they are, as I'm sure Mark knows, a very, not reactionary, I don't know the term, just like an emotional team. I don't know how to put it besides like, if they're fired up, they're unbeatable. But if you can catch the Eagles on a bad day. I won't lie. I just don't think they'll have any bad days in the playoffs. I think that they are just too good of a team. And I do think this Packers matchup with a banged up receiver core, banged up Jordan Love, I just don't see the Packers being able to win this one. So I'm giving it to the Eagles. Next, Washington versus Tampa. I went back and forth. I did pick Tampa at first, but something tells me Jaden Daniels shows up in a big, big, big way in this game. But, I mean, could you imagine, right, if Tampa wins and then the Rams beat the Vikings, that, like, we get another Rams-Lions game? But just the way that we've seen Jaden Daniels close out the year, I can't see him losing this game against the Buccaneers. I mean, the Buccaneers' strongest point is their defense, the defensive line even, and Jaden Daniels is going to be able to get through that. The Buccaneers are favored by 3, and I get it. I think this is going to be very, very tough for Jaden Daniels and this Washington team, but I feel it in the bones that they've got it. I feel it in my bones that the Washington Commanders can beat the Buccaneers. It's in Tampa. It would take an upset. I get that. But I just can't bet against Jaden Daniels right now, especially in a beatable matchup. I know that the Buccaneers are playing super well, but I just don't know how much longer Baker Mayfield can just will this team to victory. And I just think that Jaden Daniels has a stronger will to bring the Commanders to victory in this game. And I think that they will. And then we'll kind of see what happens after that. And the final wild card game we have is the Rams hosting the Vikings. The Vikings are favored by 2.5. But I've got to be honest with you, I'm taking the Rams in this game. They keep winning these close contests. They just keep doing it. And the Rams actually won this game in October 30-20. And I think that they'll keep it up. Again, I firmly believe in Matthew Stafford, especially to show up in the playoffs. And I believe Cooper Kupp will be able to show up as well. With the Vikings having such a shoddy secondary, I really think the Rams win this game. Now, if they were only to rely on Kyren Williams, yeah, sure, it would be tough. But, I mean, we just saw what the Lions did to them. We've seen what teams have been doing to them all year, and the Vikings have just pulled out wins. It's not happening in the playoffs. The magic run ends here, and Sam Darnold will be on a new team next year. I'm going with the Rams, and we'll see. I kind of wish I picked the Buccaneers just so we could have the Rams-Lions game, but something in my heart and soul says Jaden Daniels wins that game. But I do think Matthew Stafford gets one more playoff victory for the Rams against the Minnesota Vikings, ending the Sam Darnold magic run. So for the divisional rounds, we're going to have the Rams taking on the Eagles. And, well, the Matthew Stafford run ends there. I do think that the Eagles match up very, very well against the Los Angeles Rams, which should lead them to victory. Again, I really believe in the Eagles. I really believe in the Eagles right now as the most complete team in this playoffs, especially if they decide to show up, which they have been. Let's face it, they really, really have been. They seem so locked in. Saquon Barkley didn't give up his place in the history books for nothing, and Jalen Hurts is ready to make some noise as well. They're mad they lost the Super Bowl a couple years ago, mad they collapsed in the playoffs last year. This is an understated revenge tour for the Eagles, and they win. They beat the Rams. What a hot take. Which takes us to Lions versus Commanders. And if I'm the Lions, I do not want this matchup at all, because this defense has been collapsing and Jaden Daniels can put up so many damn points. But luckily for the Lions, the Commanders also have a shoddy defense, and the Lions can put up a ton of points as well. I do think if they matched up, it would be incredibly, incredibly close and would come down to like the final drive. But this is also the Lions' year. They make it to the NFC Championship, beating the Commanders, and I'm going to call it barely. Like they have, I mean, I know that they just dismantled the Vikings, but we've seen recently them kind of ending up in these closer contests, and that's what we saw from them in the playoffs last year. It just takes one thing to go their way, though, at the end, and I think it will happen. Look for Jameson Williams in that game in particular. But either way, Lions beating the Commanders and taking on the Eagles in the NFC Championship. And my heart hurts. It does. I want so badly for the Eagles, or for the Lions, to make the Super Bowl. I want it so badly. I think we all do. I know the Lions want it too. This defense can't stop Philadelphia. Unless they catch the Eagles on a bad day, which, again, I talked about it at the beginning. It can happen. The Eagles could just randomly not show up. But, man, I just think that the Eagles will be able to totally dismantle that Lions defense. And the Lions, maybe they would be able to keep it close. But honestly, I think that if the Eagles matched up with the Lions, even in Detroit, it would not be good for Detroit. I know it sucks so hard, but this Eagles team is just so complete. Saquon Barkley is playing unbelievably well. Jalen Hurts is starting to play unbelievably well as well. Devontae Smith's finally been unlocked. A.J. Brown looking like A.J. Brown again. And I hate to say it for the Detroit Lions fans, but the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl and taking on the Buffalo Bills. And we're going to have Jalen Hurts versus Josh Allen. And it's going to be immaculate. And down in NOLA, in their second Super Bowl appearance, Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles will beat the Buffalo Bills. The Josh Allen magic run will end in the Super Bowl in his first appearance, and Jalen Hurts will win his first Super Bowl and get the Super Bowl MVP as well. I hate it for the Buffalo Bills, but the team that has been there before has a much higher leg up. They just do. And I think that the Eagles will be in total business mode and just go in there and whoop some ass. And they win this year's Super Bowl. I know it's slightly a hot take. I know picking the number 2 seed isn't the hottest take in the world. But just the way these things have started to shape up for me, I think even if the Eagles played the Chiefs, it's just the way things are looking right now. The Eagles look to be the team to beat in the playoffs. They are so complete, and they're playing their best football at the right time. So I'm going with the Eagles as my Super Bowl champ. So with that being said, let me know your thoughts in the chat. Let me know your thoughts in the comment. Who's winning your Super Bowl? Why don't we take a look at the FFPC Playoff Challenge? It's really, really cool stuff. I'm going to go ahead and start doing that. While I do that, I want you guys to learn some more about FastDraft.
Drafting is the best part of fantasy football. And drafting fast is what FastDraft is all about. FastDraft is the fastest best ball app on the planet. With just 6 rounds and a 20-second time clock, you can draft in under 10 minutes. Don't have 10 minutes? Use Turbo Mode to create teams with a click of a button. We love volume players, and volume players love FastDraft because we make it exponentially easier to max enter 150 lineups, and if a tournament you love does fill, don't worry, we'll roll out another one the next day because we focus just on the players you care about. In April and May, our Origins tournaments are rookie only because the NFL Draft is the second most popular event in American sports after the Super Bowl. FastDraft tracks player ownership in real time, so you can always see your exposure at a glance in the draft room, and there's no position restrictions. And the best part of that is you never have to draft a tight end. With only 60 players drafted, there are 2 key ways to get unique. You draft players well above or below ADP, or shake up your boosters. The boosters let you set 4 players with point multipliers up to 2x, so you can improve your chances of being unique by putting premiums on later round picks. Okay, that's what FastDraft's all about. Now start your engines.
Yes, definitely go check out FastDraft. There is even a FastDraft Playoff Challenge. It is the FastDraft Quick 6 Super Slam. It's really, really cool stuff. You get to pick any 6 players to make your playoff team, apply your boosters, all of that fun stuff. And it doesn't matter. You could have 6 Eagles if you wanted. You could have 6 Lions if you wanted, 6 Bills, mix it up however you want. Really highly recommend it. No quarterbacks, just flex players. Really, really cool stuff over at FastDraft. And you can use promo code Jason, I believe, for a first deposit match up to $25. It's pretty cool stuff. That'll get you a couple entries into the playoff challenge. In fact, if you do 20, you'll get 20 back, and that's 4 entries into the playoff challenge. So let's get into it. The real playoff challenge of today, the FFPC Playoff Challenge. Again, today's episode is sponsored by them. They are kind enough to give me 1 entry into this to the $35 tournament. It's really, really a fantastic tournament. I entered it last year, and it was really, really fun to put a team together. And my team didn't do too hot, but it was still really, really cool to just have that extra, I don't know, oomph, you could say, about you're just watching the playoffs, having some extra players to root for and all that stuff. So there's one important thing to know. You can pick any players. There's no draft. There's no salary cap. There's nothing. However, you can only have 1 team or 1 player per team. So if you pick Josh Allen, you can't have James Cook. So it actually gets very, very tough, especially since there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and players to pick, right? But there's only 14 teams. So you really do have to have basically a player from each team. And I got to say, I don't even know where to begin. Just kidding, of course. As we talked about in last year's, in the last episode of Wake and Take, Josh Allen's just a cheat code. And as we just talked about with my playoff bracket, I do have the Bills at least making it to the Super Bowl. So that's obviously got to be the quarterback I pick. I don't like really any of the other Bills besides James Cook. And I just believe that Josh Allen himself has a very, very high ceiling. So with my quarterback picked, not even going to think about it much more. We're just going to move on to the running back. I really don't believe you should do another quarterback other than Josh Allen. I think that there's enough value on the Eagles, for example, to get Saquon. On the Ravens, for example, to get Derrick Henry, which is exactly what I'm going to do for my running backs. I'm going to do that because, again, I think that the Eagles will make the Super Bowl. And I don't necessarily need Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown right now. And in terms of Baltimore, with me not getting Lamar Jackson, I don't want any of the Ravens wide receivers. And yeah, sure, I don't have the Ravens going super far in this. But for now, I want to go ahead and lock down these 2 and then go to the wide receiver position. Actually, oh no, we'll just do defense last because, well, we'll just go ahead and do defense. So for defense, I'm just going to basically pick someone that I don't really want anyone for. Or you know what, whatever. We'll get to that last. More than likely, I'm going to end up picking the Steelers or maybe the Broncos. Well, no, because then they play the Bills. I'll cross that bridge when I get there. Wide receivers. Wide receivers. So it is important with wide receiver, again, And also important to note the buys, right? It is very important to note the buys, as like, say it is great to pick Amon-Ra, but I'm not going to get any points in week 1. So you've got to really, 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 really balance that. And I've got to be honest, picking the wide receiver, I think, is the toughest thing. Man, okay. Man. Oh, okay. Well, I'm not going to be picking Isaiah Pacheco. I've already not picked Patrick Mahomes, and I'm damn sure not maybe I do want Travis Kelce. But for now, I am going to get Xavier Worthy. I know he has the bye, but as we saw from Xavier Worthy over the last few weeks of the season, he really, really did come to life, has a massive ceiling, and I do think that the Chiefs will lean on him in these playoffs, and I'll just get a week off with him. Oh, man. The next one, though, I'm not sure where to go. I think Puka. I think I'm going to go with Puka because, well, Kyren Williams is going to have 2 big matchups. Like I said, I do have the Rams winning, which would mean they take on the Eagles, well, if the Commanders win. But even against the Lions, that's a tough defensive front. So I definitely don't want Kyren Williams on my team. And with Puka Nacua, a matchup against the Vikings, that's huge. And then no matter what, right, either the Eagles or the Lions, those are 2 very soft secondaries. So we're just going to go ahead and get Puka on our team as the other wide receiver to kind of carry the load while Xavier Worthy is on bye. I'm going to look at tight end before doing my flex, I think. And, man, maybe not. I'm going to ask myself this. Do I want Jahmyr Gibbs? Do I want Amon-Ra? Do I want Sam Laporta? Or do I want Jameson Williams? Which Detroit Lion do I want? And the answer probably, honestly, has to be Jahmyr Gibbs. I think. Just because, I mean, like we just watched him, right? 4 touchdowns. Basically the backfield to himself, and I know that there's some rumors out there that David Montgomery might come back. In fact, let me just double check that David Montgomery timeline. If he comes back, he might honestly be back. Completed a workout last week. Man. So maybe not. Maybe, actually, yeah, David Montgomery would totally be back. I haven't picked a Buccaneer or a Commander yet. Washington has Tampa. That's a really tough running front. Oh, man. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get Terry McLaurin. Buccaneers have a weak secondary, and either they win and take on the Lions, which also have a weak secondary, which would be good news for Terry McLaurin. Or, they lose and just have a really good game against the Buccaneers. But if I'm to pick between, because I'm not getting a quarterback, right? I've already got my quarterback. If I'm to pick between Brian Robinson and Terry McLaurin, or Zach Ertz for that matter, I'm going to go ahead and get Scary Terry in the playoffs here. Let's see. I have my Raven. I have my Bill. I have my Chiefs. I have my Eagle. I have my Commander. I have my Ram. I'm going to pick Ladd McConkey as my Charger, I think. Let me double check that. I don't know. I mean, J.K. Dobbins would be a very fine option as well. But I think I'm just going to go ahead and go with Ladd McConkey. He has a very solid matchup against the Texans. And then against the Chiefs, that might get a little bit tougher, but should be a little bit of a shootout. I want to go ahead and lock down Ladd McConkey. I don't feel great about it over J.K. Dobbins. I think J.K. Dobbins would be solid, but I'm shooting for the moon here and going with Ladd McConkey for my Charger. I need to pick a Lion here. I've got 2 flex spots left. And yeah, you guys are probably right. It's Jahmyr Gibbs. I think I'm overthinking it. It's got to be Jahmyr. Even with the bye, I think that he will go pretty crazy. Now, I will say the Eagles is a very tough matchup. You know what? No, I think everyone's going to have Jahmyr Gibbs. Give me Amon-Ra. Call me crazy. But give me Amon-Ra St. Brown for this one. And then, yeah, we probably do need to pick a tight end. And out of these, I'm just going to go with TJ Hawkinson. I know that I have, the Vikings losing, but, I could be wrong. And even with one good game, he should be pretty solid. I like TJ Hawkinson a lot. He does get a lot of volume. And say we get 2 games out of him, then we're very happy if they do beat the Rams. So I'm going to go ahead and just go with him. I don't really want the Muth, for example, or Tucker Kraft. Or Tucker Kraft. Okay. This is tough stuff. I hate only having restricted to one team, but it is beautiful. Oh, I know. I see these chats saying I don't want Worthy. I want Worthy bad. And you can call me crazy for it. I think Worthy's going to have an awesome postseason. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to all. Maybe not. I'll look at running backs again because I don't want the quarterbacks to be seen. I don't really care about that. I guess we'll do defense. And the answer here is probably the Pittsburgh defense. I don't truly believe in really any of the Pittsburgh offensive weapons, so I think we'll just pick them. I know it's a tough matchup against Baltimore, but we know that the Pittsburgh defense is pretty crazy. They could keep it close at least and maybe have a turnover or two. Oh, place kicker? We'll do just the deductive reasoning here. And yeah, I mean, I'm not going to pick a Denver player. So Will Lutz versus Buffalo, I think he could get me 10 points or so, and just I'll ride that wave. So the last player. Oh, this is tough. Okay. Oh, man. How's Joe Mixon closed out the year? I think he's kind of lost some steam, right? Okay. He has. Bucky Irving hasn't. He's been unbelievable. You know what? We're just riding Mike Evans into the sunset, baby. Mike Evans into the sunset. I see a lot of comments in here, don't you want Kelsey? Don't you want Laporta? Maybe Laporta. I won't lie. Maybe Laporta. But ultimately, maybe Laporta. I don't know. Let me see. I'm debating Amon-Ra right now, but it's just, dude, it's the sun god in the playoffs, in full PPR as well. I just think you've got to have that piece. And I think that especially when it pertains to the Lions, I think everyone is going to go ahead and get Jahmyr Gibbs. And so I think Amon-Ra is going to be a really, really good way to separate myself. Again, I don't believe in the Vikings too much. And so I don't want to waste one of my wide receiver spots on Justin Jefferson, as good as he is. I don't. Yeah, this is what we're going with. This is the squad. Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Puka Nacua, Xavier Worthy, Amon-Ra, Mike Evans, Ladd McConkey, Terry McLaurin, TJ Hawkinson, Will Lutz, and the Pittsburgh defense, or do I? Yeah, the Pittsburgh defense. Although I kind of, I want Nico Collins in here, but I just don't think he fits. I don't think Nico Collins fits in here, no. Although he should have a good game. Maybe. You know what? Instead of Terry McLaurin, I'm throwing Nico Collins in. Right? Ended the year fairly strong. Hit or miss, but oh, man, that might break me. Oh, tough. Nico Collins or Scary Terry? Nico Collins or Scary Terry? I'm going back Scary Terry. Yeah, going back to Scary Terry. I just think that he should have a big game against Tampa regardless. And while Nico should have a pretty big game against the Chargers, I do think it'll be a little bit lower scoring. And, oh, God. Oh. No, man. You're right. I'm going Nico. That's a tough one, but I am going Nico Collins. I've got to ride the Nico Collins wave. Love that guy. Now, is this saved? Is that it? Are we good? Is that all I need to do? Just build it? Hey, okay. Okay, so that's the squad. I don't know if I can invite people, but if I can, I don't know. I think everyone just kind of joins at once. But again, highly recommend. God. Oh, man, I want one more spot. No commander player hurts. You know what? Instead of Lad McConkey, oh, this could burn me. Instead of Lad McConkey, which, man, I don't know about that one either. Jeez. Let's, Yeah. Man, this is really hard. It's like just this final spot. Can I just not have a tight end? Can I just have another flex? Man. Honestly, no. I'm overthinking too much, I think. Terry McLaurin ended the year pretty poorly. I won't lie. He kind of burned me there. But, I mean, he has been a monster kind of all season. I do think Jaden Daniels goes crazy, but I also think, yeah, I'm just not going to have Lad McConkey. Terry McLaurin instead of Lad McConkey. Here we go. That's the squad. One more time, Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Puka Nacua, Xavier Worthy, the Sun God, Nico Collins, Mike Evans, Scary Terry, TJ Hawkinson, Will Lutz, and the Pittsburgh defense. Take it in all its glory. And if you want to sign up for the FFPC, I highly recommend it. You can use promo code Underworld, and that'll actually get you $25 off your first team, which means you can get this playoff tournament entry for just $10. It's a $35 entry. You get $25 off your first team with promo code Underworld. Highly recommend doing it. As you just saw, it is kind of frustrating to put together, but it's a lot of fun, and it gives you a reason to root for pretty much every team throughout the playoffs. Really, really cool tournament. Highly recommend it. Lots of prizes as well. The prizes here, my gosh, they're just incredible. So cannot recommend the FFPC Playoff Challenge enough. Go test it out. Use promo code Underworld. Get $25 off your first entry. If you haven't signed up for the FFPC before, you have all week to enter. Go ahead and do it and enjoy. And that should do it. That was my little bit of a playoff preview. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, you guys were a fantastic audience. I do see a few questions, so why don't I answer a couple of them? Yes, I will be going to the Senior Bowl. As far as I'm aware, I did get my media pass. And I have all plans to go. Thanks for all the feedback during my draft. We'll see you guys. Hey, if I didn't do the strategy you wanted me to, go test it out. Seriously. I am also happy I don't have to watch another Browns game. That was horrible. This year's Super Bowl color theory, I think it changed, by the way. I remember the logo looking a little bit different. But red and green suggests Chiefs and Eagles. Or Bills and Eagles, I guess, arguably. They have red. Or that's it. I mean, the green suggests the Packers, I guess. The green could be the Packers or the Eagles. But no one else has green. No one else has green. I want to say it was purple and green, though. I remember it being purple and green. So the one I'm looking at right now is red and green. But either way, the green is there. So I think it's Jalen Hurts' first year, baby. And that'll do it. That will do it. Everyone hit that like button. Everyone hit that subscribe. And everyone have a magnificent Monday. Again, Wake and Take is going to Monday, Wednesday, Friday for the foreseeable future. So I will see you all Wednesday for some more Wake and Take. Get ready for that. You all have a good one. Fantastic rest of your week. And I'll see you then. Peace.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.